Hello, welcome to this video. In this lesson, we will learn how to create our user model and add auto migration to it so that our models are automatically migrated into our database. So let's proceed from there. So in creating our models, we already have the models folder over here. Good. So we will just create a new file inside it and we'll call it user.go. Okay, so user.go will handle all our user model. Okay, so any user that will be registered, it will be taken from here, and the migration will be taken from here into our database. Okay, good. So let's first declare the entrance into our file. So as it is in the models folder, we will just make it package models so that it is treated as a module and can be used anywhere in our code. Good. So now after that, we just create our struct. Okay. So basically GOM will use this to create our database table for us. So we create our struct and we call our struct user. We call our struct user. Good. Then inside our struct, struct, so basically this will be the representation of our users table in our database. So as we all know, the first column of our database table for the user will have the ID column. So we will specify that the first column will be an ID, and we will say that that ID will be an unsigned integer, so it will be uint. Okay, good. Then the second column will be our username. So we will do username like this, and we will specify that it will be a string. Great. Then we also specify that we will have an email, and the email too as well will be a string, and a password field also as well, and that will also be a string. Good. Then we will have our created at and updated at. So any creation of user into our database, we will be able to track when they were created. If there is an update, we will track when they were updated. So we will have this created at. Okay, and we also have the updated at. Now we are not yet done. So GORM is actually going to handle the validation and going to just create our database for us in our database table using the struct that we are declaring here. So in each of the field, we have to specify some parameters for GORM to use. So starting from the ID column, we will say, let me add a little space. Okay. So starting from the ID column, we will specify using a backtick. So we will use a backtick, and the backtick inside it, we will use the GORM to specify some parameters that GORM will understand. All right, good. So we will say that using the GORM should actually treat this ID column as the primary key. So we will do GORM column, then we will do in our quotation, we will say primary key. So GORM will always treat the ID column as a primary key. So any data that comes in, it will treat the ID as a primary key. So that is where it will auto increment the whole thing. All right, good. Then what about our username? Our username as well, we will let GORM treat it as a unique field. So we will say GORM column unique. Exactly. So that there will be no duplication. So it will help us to check the validation whenever there is a registration and the username the person is inputting already exists. GORM will automatically throw out the error for us because it is treating that field as a unique. Good. And you say that it is unique. So don't forget your quotations as well. Good. So we are not yet done with the declaration. So first we will say that it is unique, and also we will let GORM handle it as not null. So there is no way this field is going to accept a null value. So it must contain a value. So we will say we will bring our semicolon and we will say not null like this. Good. Then we will close our quotation. Good. The same thing applies to the email. The email too is supposed to be unique and also not null. So we can actually bring the same over here. Okay, good. Then in our password, we are going to also let GORM say that this password is not null. Just only that. Good. So that our password field will not be empty during registration. Good. So we will say in our backtick, we will say GORM, then column, then we will say not now. So basically that's great. Good. We are having some error here because we didn't specify the created at and the updated at. Now we are going to use a time because it is going to track the time the user was created and the time the user was updated. So we will use the time package, and we are going to get that from Go internal packages. That's the inbuilt packages that Go gives us. So one of the package is called time, and that is what is going to help us to handle that. Good. So we will specify that the created at will be a time column, and you will import that package from Go, and we say that the package is called time. Then you say that time dot time. Exactly. And the same thing applies to the updated field as well. Good. And the reason why we are having that error here is because we have not yet imported the package into our file yet. So let me do a quick fix and see it over. Okay, so we see it over here. Add import time. Good. Then automatically the time package is imported. All right. Now, having done that, we will specify the JSON representation of the columns. So what I mean is that in our database table, the name that is supposed to actually appear as the table column, as the column names. Exactly. So these are the column names. So in our struct, we define them. This is the spelling. So in the database table, the name of the column of each of these column, how it's supposed to be in the database. Okay, so the columns, that's what we are referring to. So these are the JSON representations. So for the ID like this, inside the backtick, we will now do JSON and we'll do column, then we'll bring our quotation, then we'll say that it should be ID. So you see, we are making it small letters. So inside our database, the ID column, the name should be small letters ID. The same thing applies to the username. So we will do JSON, then inside our quotation, we will say username. So exactly, also small letters. The same thing applies. So that is basically that. Our email as well. In our quotation, you will say email, small letter. Okay, good. And close your quotation. And our password as well. Good. Password. And you close it. And also in our created at and our updated at, the same thing also applies. So in our backtick, we will say JSON, then we will say it should be created at. Okay, and the same thing applies also over here, and we will say this should also be updated at. So the created at and the updated at, GORM will automatically create them for us in our database. So there is no worry about that. Good. Now we are done with our user struct. Now let's go into our main um, .go file and now initiate our configuration that we did. So the moment the project runs, the moment we run our project, it first starts from here, and we will have to first of all load our database configuration and the connection, because we have it in our init config here in this function. So we have to bring the function over here in our Go and now call it for the database to be connected, and after that we will handle the migration, and our user module will be created in our database. So now let's look at how that one will be done inside our main.go file. So before we start with our Gen framework declaration over here, we will have to first make sure that the project is connected with our database successfully. So before that, we will first of all do our database configuration, our database declaration over here. Good. So we will create a variable called, let's say, CFG for our configuration. Okay, you can use any name that you want. Okay, good. And we will say that it should be equal to the configuration that we have over here in our config.go. So we are calling this function, and when we call this function, the database and everything will be loaded, and it will be connected from here. As we see the DB, then it will be connected using the GORM, and it will return these database credentials for us. Exactly. So we are going to call this function. Great. So in our main.go, we will see that config dot, and we will bring that function name inside over here. That's the function name. Great. Now the reason we have config over here is because this function is located in the config module over here. You see, that is why come at the beginning of the config.go file we did package config. Exactly. So anytime you want to access any function within that, we will first call the name of the module, which is the config. Okay, then before we do dot, the function name, exactly the same thing that we have done over here. Great. And now we have done it, but the reason we are getting an error is because we have to import this module, the config folder over here, as a module. We have to import it inside our main.go so that we can actually use it, and automatically that is what we see it over here from our file. So the name of our project, you see, authentication system, that's the name of our project. Then inside it we just import the config module over here, this one. Okay, good. And we have it over here exactly like that. Good. Now our config is imported successfully. Great. Now we are still seeing an error here, so pay attention. When we come into our config file over here, we said that this function is supposed to return two parameters. It's returning the configuration, the pointer of the configuration, which we had over here as we saw in the return. It is returning this, and it is also returning an error over here, which we did over here as nil. Good. So wherever we use it, we have to also make sure that it is returning both. So if we declare that it should return the configuration over here as CFG, we should also indicate that it's, in case there is an error, it should also return it. So we will do comma dot comma err, okay, for the error. Exactly. Then we will catch that error over here. We will say that in case in the connection of this function in our configuration an error occur, whether in connecting to the database or whatsoever, if an error occur, we should just return that error and log that error. Okay, so we will say that if the error is not nil, meaning that there is an error, so we should log it over here. So we should do log dot filter, then we will see in our quotation that there is a failed connection. So fail to initialize, there's a fails to initialize our configuration, our config. Great. And we will specify the error that it is returning. Okay, so we do comma, then we'll bring our error over here. ERR. Good. Now we see it exactly. And because we are having an error here, it means that we have not yet imported our log package from Go. So let's do a quick fix and see it over here. Okay, and let's import it. Great. Now that should be dealt with soon. And we are having an error also over here, meaning that we have declared it. We have stored the connection in a variable called CFG, but we have not actually used it. So we see it over here, declared and not used. Great. So we are supposed to use it for it to work. So now how do we use it? After getting the connection into this variable, we are supposed to use it to do our auto migration. You get it? Now the connection, if the connection didn't fail and it is successful, now we have our connection in this variable called CFG. So now GORM will help us auto migrate our user struct, our user model into our database. So we will use it over here and we say that CFG dot db dot automigrate. Automigrate is a method from the GORM package. Good. Now why do we use db over here? Now if we come into our configuration over here in our config.go, we declared that in our config struct there is a variable, or there is a name that we have declared as db over here as we see it here, and we say that it is actually um, an instance of the GORM db. You see it over here. So when we were returning the configuration from the initialize config, the init config function over here, we first declare that we are getting the db, which is this db. That's the connection. So basically it is this db that we are referring to. Are you seeing it? So that is what we have it over here, and it will handle that. You see the db is actually storing the GORM connection to our MySQL database, so it will use it to do our auto migration. So that is this db that we have over here in our main.go. So we have that over here, the config.db, and inside the GORM package of the db there is an auto migrate method which will handle the auto migration of our models for us in our database. So in our auto migrate method inside, we will specify which model are we migrating into our database. So we will specify that we are migrating our user struct over here. We are migrating our user struct over here. So we have to also declare and specify that that user struct that we are migrating, it is in the modules folder over here. Good. So inside it, we will say that what we are migrating in our auto migrate method, what we are migrating is our models dot user, and it is a struct, so we have to specify it with a curly braces. Good. Now we are getting this error because we have not actually imported that whole package or that module of the models over here. So we have not actually imported it. So now if you hover over it and we do a quick fix, we will see it over here. Good. So now we should click import. Now it should be dealt with. But note, since we are auto migrating the user model, we are supposed to auto migrate. We are supposed to use the pointer of the user struct so that we actually migrate everything and handles it properly, else we will get error. So we are supposed to do the pointer of it instead, not just the user struct. We are supposed to do the pointer of it. So if you understand pointers, good. Now our migration should be auto migrated successfully into our database. Now let's proceed and run our program and see if everything works very fine. Let's open our terminal and do run our program to see. So let's do go run then main.go, the entrance of our program main.go, and let's hit enter and see if we get any error or it goes through successfully. Good. All right, our server has started and we see it over here. Good. Then let's allow it. Great. Now allowing it, let's check our database if it has been auto migrated successfully. This is our database auth system. If you remember, we have it over here in our config.go. Okay, so we specify the database name auth system, so that is the database. All right, so let's refresh it and see if the user struct or the user model has been migrated successfully. Let's refresh it and see. Good. Now it has been refreshed successfully. Now here is it, the users. Okay, so let's enter into the users table. Now we see our ID, username, email, password created as and updated as. So if you remember the JSON representation that we had on our user struct, we did it small letters ID and the username to small letter username, and that is exactly what we are seeing over here. That is the names over here. Good. So our database has been migrated successfully. Let's visit our browser to see if it is loading perfectly. Good. Now localhost 8080 as our port. Now we see it. Welcome to our system. So everything is working powerfully. Now thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and comment in the comment section below if you have any question. See you in the next video.